walking through the week, last season ended, obviously, and the playoff game. What's been the kind of the vibe, the atmosphere among you all as you get ready to go at it again?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's, we're trying to get back to way past what we did last year and of course, 2 years ago. But, of course, for us, we're just taking it one day at a time, 1 week at a time. And if we can do that, we'll win. You guys saw us do that first, 8-9 games of last year, and I felt like guys possibly might have got comfortable, a lot of headlines, a lot of guys, a lot of wins, and all that type of stuff. But it's up to, us as professionals to, ignore the noise and just to take it 1 week at a time, because if we do, we believe we're a great football team, and this year I think we're going to be a way better team than we were last year.
Interesting comments from Buda Baker regarding the regression of the Arizona Cardinals in 2022. Now, look, I want to be fair to everybody on this, but whenever I hear comments like that, Peter, about a team getting comfortable, a team believing that it accomplished something before it did, I think about the coach. It's always on the coach, whether it's the Parcells mindset. It's the Sean Payton, don't take the cheese, right? You got to find a way when a team is playing well to keep the team from becoming complacent, to keep the team from getting comfortable. And we've got that graphic, the Kliff Kingsbury nosedive graphic, every year that he's been a head coach, dating back to Texas Tech. Yeah. Column A, pretty good. Column B, what the hell happened? So this, it can't just be bleep happens. There's a reason for these things. Yeah. And if Kliff Kingsbury is looking for ways to improve himself, he better be ready. There it is. The can't finish Kliff, can't finish Kingsbury. Look at the right column. Look at what happens to his teams, Peter. It can't be a coincidence. It is abysmal. Great start, horrible finish. Last year from 10-2 to 1-5 and the ugly exit in the playoff loss to the Rams. Buda Baker is speaking a truth here that maybe Michael Bidwell would have liked to have heard before he gave Kliff Kingsbury an extension.
Look, I'm just going to tell you this. One Monday, it's going to be 5:10 a.m., and you're going to be sitting there. You're going to call up my column, and you are going to see in my column that I call the numbers game, you're going to see a little headline, and it's going to say, the Kliff Kingsbury nosedive graphic. And I'm not going to give you any credit for it at all. It is abject thievery because it's perfect. The Kliff Kingsbury team, look,
I didn't come up with it. Give the credit to the back room.
They are 5-17 down the stretch in that graphic that you just showed for the Arizona Cardinals. And Mike, I'm just going to give you my one little thought. I don't know why he finished 0-5 at Texas Tech. I have absolutely no idea. But I am going to give you a little pet theory of mine about why they get to the point that they get to late in every year. And that is, honestly, they've got a small quarterback, and they've got a quarterback who is a brave small quarterback. And what I mean by that is I think that the quarterback of this team, Kyler Murray, has taken an awful lot of hits, and he wasn't built to take an awful lot of hits. Okay, so in my opinion, Kliff Kingsbury walked in there, and I will never forget, in his rookie year, in 2019, he said to me when I visited them, we're going to have one of the best running games in the league. And he said, our running game is our priority. That was the word he used, our priority, the words he used. And so my only point about this, Mike, is that I think this has to be a year. And look, they lost Chase Edmonds to Miami. They need to develop, along with James Conner, who's not been the most durable guy in his career either. They need to develop a 2 or even 3-headed running game and there's nothing wrong with winning a few games, 19 to 16. There's nothing wrong with killing the clock, eating the clock, and winning the game because you run the ball great. He's always made that a priority. And this year, if I were Kliff Kingsbury, I would be looking in the middle part of my schedule calendar to make sure that we are preaching to our team. Run it, run it, run it. We want to have 35 runs every game, minimum, with our team. And I know you've got an exciting electric quarterback, and you don't want to make Kyler Murray, into some sedentary pocket guy. I'm not saying to do that. I'm saying, please, for his sake and the sake of exciting football in December and January, let's take better care of Kyler Murray in the first 3 months of this season.
And, early in his career, it seemed like he was much more wired to avoid contact. He was always smart about getting out of bounds, sliding. He still does that, but there's a certain amount of contact that's unavoidable. The ankle injury he suffered Week 8 last year on a Thursday night against the Packers, that was just in the pocket, got tackled, down he went, and that ankle, I think, bothered him the rest of the year. He missed several games. They tried to downplay it like teams always do. He'll be fine, and he wasn't fine, and he just couldn't run. He didn't have that explosion. And when we got to the end of the season, when we got to that playoff game, Peter, I said this earlier in the week, he shrunk before our eyes. He's a lot smaller when he can't just take off like the Roadrunner whenever he wants. And he looked less than ordinary against the Rams. So I agree with you. They got to find a way to keep him healthy. But on top of that, what Buda Baker's saying, the team got comfortable. That's a failure of coaching. Also, whatever's working early in the year, defenses are going to catch up with you. You got to stay ahead of the curve. That's part of the challenge. And, you got a guy who was a college coach for a long time who's still adjusting to life in the NFL. And there's a ton of pressure on him this year, I think, Kliff Kingsbury, to get this right, which is why I think if he were to tell us the truth, he would say, why in the hell are they doing the Hard Knocks in-season thing with my team? Why are they doing that? Can't I just have a year where I try to reverse the numbers on the nosedive graphic without NFL films, cameras, and microphones everywhere?
Agreed. And I think this is the one thing, and I'll just tell you this. I really think that the effect of the Hard Knocks stuff is a little bit overrated. I talked to both Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, and Frank Reich. Their season dissolved and collapsed, with the Hard Knocks cameras there. And to me, I do think that that's a little bit of it's a little bit of an overrated thing with teams. And I also think it can do a team good because players like being featured on this thing. And it spruces up, the way they feel about certain things. Last year on the in-season Hard Knocks, a bunch of players were shown as being really kind of cool guys and responsible off the field and all doing good things off the field. And I totally get it. I also get hey, let's be private. But I just don't think at the end of the day, I don't think you could ask the Colts. I don't think they would say, even privately, that it had one scintilla to do with Carson Wentz spitting the bit at Jacksonville in Week 18.
Well, one thing that Kingsbury said this week is he spoke to Ballard, and there are positives and negatives, and they asked Kingsbury what the negatives are, and he did a very good job of evading it altogether and saying basically we'll find out. I just think that from his perspective, it introduces an unknown, an uncertainty that you'd just rather not. If I had my choice of the way I know things always are, and I'm focused on trying to do better there and introducing some new factor that I really don't know what it's going to do or what it's going to be, I'd rather stick with the way things are, even though the way things are haven't been great for Kliff Kingsbury over the past decade.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.